constantly. So when they stop, he's writing there. So I did get that in. I thought it gives you a tremendous, I think it makes you suddenly realise how different these cultures were, just what it was that was, how amazed they must have been.
What was the temperature?
Oh, look, a lot of it, I remember it was 30 below regularly. In fact, there was times there, in that scene at the end, when he gets to the village, the Huron village, I've never been so cold. I think that was where I fell in the water. I was directing and kept saying, you've got to come over here, you've got to come over here, and suddenly I went straight through the ice. But the Canadian crew had me out in seconds. They were used to that sort of stuff.
Australian directors falling in.
No. They were used to living in that climate.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Really wonderful film, really just amazingly, you get caught up in it and it just sweeps you away. It's fantastic. I was just wondering, what sort of, what were the biggest challenges, both in terms of making the film and in terms of, spotting it and scoring it?
Oh, you mean making the film technically, or the music you're talking about?
Well, I guess in both aspects. I mean,
well, the main thing about making it, Sue was right. We did film it in sequence. In fact, the film was actually made at pretty much exactly the same time of the year that the original journey took place. All that story of them having to go up the river because they hadn't heard from the thing, and that was all true. So we filmed it at exactly the same time. And just the bitter cold was incredible. I remember there were days where there was nowhere to stay up there. There were no hotels or anything. It was so remote. So we managed to rent Canadian holiday houses that people had for the summer, but they let us have them for the winter, and they let us get into them, the crew and everybody, so we could have somewhere to stay. And I can remember mornings where you couldn't get out the door because the snow was piled right up, and everybody used to go around on those little motor things. What are they? Remember, Sue, those things they used to whip around on? They'd all go out and drink themselves silly, then drive off on these snowmobile things.
I remember getting to work wasn't easy in the morning because you could just as easy slip off the black ice on the
Yes,
way to location.
It really, really was cold. But it's a beautiful area.
How many shoot days for the film?
10 weeks.
10 weeks, was it?
Yeah, so
That was quick.
60 days. I
Yeah.
think.
It really was pretty quick, because all of that stuff on the river is incredibly hard to shoot on water. And Peter James, the cameraman, insisted when we got there that rafts were built for the camera crew and that we went out and rehearsed it.
Wow.
And otherwise you'd have been sunk, literally sunk, because the water was freezing. We didn't want anyone falling in. They'd only have lived a minute. And we had a camera crew, and there was a lot of stuff to do on the water. So we rehearsed it, and we did, didn't we, for quite a while.
Yes, on those rafts.
Yeah,
On the rafts.
we had the crew, and we were all sitting on rafts, and I kept thinking, oh, someone's going to go in at some point. But I don't think anybody ever fell in from the rafts or the canoes. Explicit. I mean, you got all these information out of the relation. And it had very little dialogue. But the dialogue that was there was very, I thought, very sharp. And I thought a lot of the exchanges were really good, between the Indians and the French. We used most of that from the novel.
Was there any sort of controversy at the time in terms of how the film was received between the Christian movement?
No. In fact, shortly after it was made, there was a big festival of Indian movies. In San Francisco, I think it was, and we won first prize. And it also won the Canadian Award for Best Film and Best Director. I think we got a few others, didn't we?
Best everything.
It won everything in Canada. Then we came here, I don't think we won anything here, did we?
No, Peter James.
Did Peter James win for photography? Oh, well, he deserved it.